What would you do if someone handed you $15 million for just 10 weeks of work? Most people would take it in a heartbeat, but when that offer landed on Caitlin Clark's table, she said, no. Yes, you heard that right. Before she even played a single professional game in the WNBA, the Indiana Fever star, the number first overall pick of the 2024 draft, had the chance to secure a deal that would have instantly made her one of the highest-paid women in basketball history. The Big Three League, founded by Ice Cube, offered her $15 million to ditch the WNBA spotlight and join their 3-on-3 showcase. But Caitlin Clark turned it down. Why? Because for her, it wasn't just about money. It was about loyalty. It was about legacy. It was about proving herself on the biggest stage in women's basketball. Before we dive into the offer itself, let's remind ourselves why Clark was even in this position. She isn't just another rookie. She's the NCAA's all-time leading scorer, a 4-time first-team All-American, and a player who turned Iowa basketball into a national phenomenon. She wasn't just breaking records. She was filling arenas, pulling record TV ratings, and putting women's basketball into conversations it had never been in before. That's why she was the number one. First overall pick in the 2024 WNBA draft, heading to the Indiana Fever as the centerpiece of their rebuild. As never forget that, the hypocrisy will always be there. It'll always be there when we're talking about our specific situation. But, it is an interesting one. It is all around an interesting one. From the very start, Clark wasn't just expected to play, she was expected to transform the league. And she did. Even in her first season, Clark shattered rookie records. Most points, most assists, even the single-game assist record across the entire league. On top of that, she generated unprecedented attention for the WNBA, millions of viewers, sold-out arenas, and a surge in merchandise sales. She wasn't just playing basketball, she was growing the game. So when Big Three came calling, it wasn't random. They saw the star power, they saw the attention, they knew if they could sign Clark, they'd get headlines, ticket sales, and eyes on their product. She wasn't just a player to them, she was the golden ticket. The Big Three League has always been known for its flash and star power. Created by Ice Cube, it's a 3-on-3 league that blends basketball with entertainment, bringing in former NBA players, celebrities, and a unique style of play. It's fast, it's physical, and it's all about highlight moments. But what it isn't is the WNBA. It's not the highest level of competitive women's basketball. It's not the international stage. It's not where legacies are built. That's what made their offer to Caitlin Clark so shocking. At first, rumors swirled that the offer was $5 million. That was already eye-opening. But then it was clarified. The real offer was a whopping $15 million for just 10 weeks of play. So I have to talk about a tough one to have to deal with because these players are very much fighting for a revenue split they're never going to get. And their money's quadrupling and they're turning it down. And let's be real, the biggest reason why the league is in the spot it's in is because of Caitlin Clark. That TV deal doesn't happen if Caitlin Clark does not come onto that league. If Caitlin Clark takes a super senior season, that TV deal is not $200 million. Do the math. That's $1.5 million per week. To put that in perspective, the average WNBA salary is under $150,000. Even the league's top stars don't sniff $1 million in salary from the WNBA itself. Caitlin Clark could have made more in 10 weeks with the Big Three than most WNBA players make in their entire careers combined. It was a calculated gamble by Big Three. They knew signing Clark would legitimize their league in a new way, bringing in a younger audience, women's basketball fans, and massive media coverage. In short, they tried to buy the Caitlin Clark effect. On paper, Caitlin Clark had every reason to take the Big Three's deal. $15 million for 10 weeks of work. Let that sink in. That's more than 100 times the average WNBA salary. For most athletes, that's life-changing money. That's take care of your family forever money. That's the kind of offer that turns heads no matter who you are. But Clark isn't like most athletes. Her decision wasn't about the short-term cash grab. It was about the long-term vision, about her career, her brand, and her love for the game. Caitlin Clark grew up dreaming of playing in the WNBA. This wasn't just another option for her, it was the only option in her mind. When she was shattering records at Iowa, when she was pulling in millions of viewers to women's college basketball, when she was being crowned the NCAA's all-time leading scorer, the dream was always the same. Walk across that stage, hear her name called, and put on the hat of the number 1 pick in the WNBA draft. I wonder how much money Caitlin Clark is actually making. I think that, like some of those talks, apparently it costs, for her to go in person, it's like $200,000 for 30 minutes. And she was doing 3 of those a week. I would say, Caitlin made $1 million off the Panini deal, minimal. Taking the Big 3 deal would have cheapened that moment. It would have been a signal that money mattered more than the game itself, that she valued quick checks over proving herself at the highest level. And Clark isn't wired that way. She's also smart enough to know that money isn't everything when it comes to building a career. Sure, $15 million up front sounds massive, but what about the long-term earnings she could secure by being the face of the WNBA? What about the endorsements, the sponsorships, the shoe deals? Those aren't just one-time paydays. They're sustained, generational wealth. And they only come if you're playing on the biggest stage. And then there's the basketball itself. The Big 3 isn't the WNBA. It's half-court 3-on-3, more of an entertainment league than a competitive one. For Clark, whose entire identity is tied to competing at the highest level, the idea of playing against retired NBA guys in a glorified pickup format didn't match her goals. She's not here to play side games. She's here to cement her legacy. So why did Clark say no? Because she understood something most people miss. The biggest money isn't always the best money. She knew that staying true to her path, the WNBA, the fever, the grind of professional basketball, would pay off far more in the long run, both in dollars and in legacy. And that's what separates Clark from so many others. She doesn't just play chess on the court, she plays it off the court too. Let's talk about loyalty, because this is where Caitlin Clark's decision really hits home. The Indiana Fever didn't just draft Clark. They entrusted her with the entire future of their franchise. This is a team that had been at the bottom of the league for years, searching for a savior, searching for relevance, searching for hope. When they drafted Clark number 1 overall, they weren't just picking a player, they were picking a leader, a face, a symbol that the Fever were back. Now imagine if Clark had accepted the Big 3's deal. Imagine if, right after being drafted, right after promising Indiana fans a new era, she said, "Actually, I'm going to go play in a 3-on-3 league instead." What would that have done to her reputation? What would that have done to the Fever's momentum? It would have been a disaster, a betrayal of the very people who believed in her the most. But Clark didn't do that. She chose loyalty. She chose to stay with the Fever, to grind through the ups and downs to be the star they needed her to be. And that decision sent a powerful message, not just to Indiana, but to the entire WNBA. I'm all in. And let's not forget the bigger picture here. The WNBA is still in its growth phase. Clark knows her presence isn't just about winning games. It's about building the league. She's the one selling out arenas. She's the one driving record TV ratings. She's the one pushing merchandise sales through the roof. If she had left for the Big 3, it wouldn't just have hurt the Fever. It would have hurt the league itself. Clark understands that. She understands her responsibility. She knows she's not just a player, she's a movement. And movements need consistency. They need loyalty. They need leaders who won't abandon ship when a bigger payday comes along. And ironically, by staying loyal, Clark is still securing the bag. She signed an 8-year, $28 million endorsement deal with Nike, the richest in women's basketball history. She's working on her own signature shoe. She's on billboards. She's the face of commercials. She's building wealth that will last a lifetime. And she's doing it while staying true to her team and her league. That's why this choice matters so much. Loyalty in sports is rare, but Caitlin Clark just proved that loyalty still has value, and sometimes it's the smartest business decision of all. When we look back at Caitlin Clark's career 10 or 15 years from now, this decision might be one of the defining moments. Not because of the money she turned down, but because of the message it sent. Think about the storylines. She could have been remembered as the player who chose a novelty league over the WNBA. The player who chased a quick payday instead of building a legacy. But by rejecting the Big Three offer, she solidified herself as something far greater. A competitor, a loyal leader, and a builder of women's basketball. This isn't just about her personal reputation, it's about the WNBA's trajectory. I think that Wilson partnership, she's made multiple millions. I'd say it would cost at least $1 million. To make her like the face of a line of Stanley Cups, I'd say it would cost her at least $1 million, and unfortunately I do want to say, I already own one, so it's not like Caitlin Clark will make you buy a second drinking cup. Clark choosing the league over the money validates the WNBA's importance. It shows future stars that the path to greatness isn't in side leagues or short-term paychecks. It's in competing against the best, night after night, on the biggest stage available. And here's the thing, this choice will pay off in ways money can't measure. By being the face of the Fever, by staying in the WNBA, by taking on the responsibility of growing the sport, Clark is setting herself up not just for endorsement deals, but for immortality. She has the chance to become what Michael Jordan was to the NBA, what Serena Williams was to tennis, what Tiger Woods was to golf, the athlete who changed everything. Her smile lighting up arenas, her logo debut with Nike, her highlight reel threes, all of that builds the mythology. But it's decisions like this, saying no to $15 million to stay true to the WNBA, that build the legacy. So what does this mean? It means Caitlin Clark's name won't just be written in record books, it'll be written in history books. Not just as a scorer, not just as a star, but as the player who put loyalty over money, the league over herself, and the game over the gamble. And years from now, when fans talk about how the WNBA exploded into mainstream dominance, they'll point to moments like this. The moment Caitlin Clark said no to money and yes to history.